We're on. Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yes, sir.
happy to finally have you on. I know we've been trying to get this done for a little while. Got an election that's coming up. So I've start out, it's kind of funny because most of the candidates that I have come on the show, I'm like, why are you running? Why did you decide to put your name in the hat? But you've already sat on this seat for 2 years now. And so what are you planning on doing in the next 2 years? What's to come if elected?
Well, I ran 2 years ago because the former mayor was trying to shut the boat ramp down, and he also had put a fence across the T-dock area, the boat launch, and the boat slip area. And so I ran at that time with the idea of keeping the boat ramp and opening the marina. And since I was successful, I was able to keep the boat ramp and open the marina. The marina is got a long way to go, but at least it's open. And why am I still there? I am still there because if you'll watch some of the renderings that are coming out from the city manager's office and the consultants, they're taking and they're squeezing down the parking area. So they're trying to limit the parking area down there for the boats. So maybe they're not going to do away with the boat ramp, but by squeezing all the parking, they've effectively cut down on our ability to use the boat ramp. So that's not final, it's not set in stone, but that's the kind of stunts they're trying to pull down there. So that's one of the things that keeps me interested. And there's been a lot of other shenanigans that have happened down there. I tried Streetscape, was narrowing of the road from Beach Drive down to the clock. And then that was the first phase. And then there was another phase from the clock up to 6th Street. And I voted against going any further. I wanted to stop it just where it was. I think the streetscape is an abomination downtown. It's narrowed the road. We're losing something like 30 parking spaces, and then people are having to parallel park, and people don't know how to do that. You've got to be very, very careful driving around downtown, or else you're going to lock mirrors with somebody going the other way. And despite the fact that the powers that be down at City Hall, they'll tell you they're not having any problems. I know somebody personally that had their mirror knocked off, and I was talking to a lady that owns a shop down there, and she said she saw a bumper get completely ripped off because the car was going the other way and just tore it right off. So why do I stay there? I stay there because we've got a lot of problems down there, and I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to stop this foolishness. And I think I'm pointing, I would say that I'm pointing out problems that people have. I have a commission that's 4-1 against me consistently because they're part of the good old boys. They're part of what I call the deep state down there. This is a bunch of people that have run Panama City forever, and they're not very happy. They're not very happy that they're not in charge anymore. So there's a lot of challenges down there, and I just have to keep going. We can talk about more challenges if you want to.
Well, actually, I want to talk about that
yes, sir.
real quick.
Don't let me hog the whole conversation.
No. You're perfectly fine. So first of all, I agree 100% about the Harrison Avenue thing. Dude, my dad, I just went out to dinner with my parents last week. We went down to Mosey's. We were going to go have some dinner, and we had went down Harrison Avenue, and it was almost impossible for him to get down because, like you said, people don't know how to parallel park, and it is extremely narrow down there. Now, Ed, I don't know if it was Ed or there was somebody else that was running. They came on and they said the north side of Harrison Avenue past that clock tower and that roundabout, it's not going to be as condensed. Is that true?
I think it's going to be 2 feet wider. But
okay.
I mean that's hardly worth getting excited about. It's still not going to be enough room that you'll still have to parallel park. So yeah, we learned something. We spent $6 million to learn how to save 2 feet. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So when we talk about the deep state, obviously, like my generation, I'm 34. So getting people involved, like that are around my age in local government, and like getting them to actually give a dang about what's going on in the city is kind of hard right now because a lot of people are working and they don't have time to keep up with everything that's going on. But there's been several times you've brought up the deep state. Who is it? Like, when you say the deep state, who are you referring to? Just so our listeners will know.
Well, Mayor Brudnicki, He'd be a good member of the deep state.
Oh, yeah?
Former mayor. Representative Trumbull. Representative Griffiths from here in Panama City Beach.
Mm-hmm. 'Cause I
Let's
thought
see.
like that. I thought so. Forgive me because I don't stay on top of that as much as I. So whenever people have said like the deep state to me, I think of like BlackRock, all those big names that try to come in and they try to take over local areas. So, but when you say the deep state that's here, you mean like a local deep state that like make all these deals that are behind doors, as what you've talked about in the past, right?
Yes, we have a local deep state. And the local deep state is who runs the things. And, I've come to know them.
You think they
And
still have their hand in it?
Oh, absolutely. You talked just a little while ago off camera. We were talking about Neves Media.
Yeah.
Neves Media is part of the deep state.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That's who the deep state uses for their media presentations.
Okay. Is there anybody who's running for office right now that you think there's part of it?
Part of the deep state presently for office, Alan Branch, unequivocally. Robbie Hughes, unequivocally. Josh Street. Those are members of the deep state that are one of them's in office now, and two of them are running for office. They're part of the deep state. They've been put up to run by the deep state.
Wow. Okay. Any examples of things that they've done though that shows that? Just because I'm curious.
Alan Branch is a huge proponent of the path on Beach Drive. He wants to put that path on Beach Drive. That is something that the deep state has been pushing the whole time. So that's part of the deep state.
So why do you think they do want to do that though? What is the reason? So the path, like obviously, and the path was definitely on the agenda to talk about today. And I know I only have you for a certain amount of time, but the path was definitely one of those things that was on there. I was bringing up key points that's been brought up here recently. I wanted to go over the 11th on, I think it was February the 11th, because you had called out. So I'm all about calling out corruption. I think it's great. It's something that you do a lot. I also think when you call out corruption, like as far as that goes, the evidence that goes behind that. One of the things that I wanted to kind of bring up about that was the Chestnut Avenue purchase.
Wonderful.
Because that was something that you brought up and you were like, this was a backroom deal. This was something that went on behind closed doors. And I was kind of vested in this where I was like, I wanted to hear more about it. And we've received several messages over Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok from several things that have come out. So we're promoting our show. So we've put out things and people send in comments, and there are people that actually want to hear a little bit more about that particular thing, more than anything. Because it's like, as you said, you're like, these guys are helping out their buddies. And these backroom deals, how often do they go on that like people don't know about though?
I don't know. This was a backroom deal that went on and everybody knew about it and it still went on.
Really?
I mean, it happened.
So it was, I'm just going off of the meeting. It was Josh Street, Fred Nicky, the former city manager, Mark McQueen. Was there anybody else that was involved with that?
My understanding is that there were. I was told by a member of the city, one of the city officers that I'm not going to name, but I was told by one of the city officers that yes, there were meetings. There were meetings at City Hall, and they were discussing. Let's see. The Chestnut LLC had purchased the Saunders Diesel facility. Been a diesel place for over 50 years. So Chestnut LLC had purchased that, and they were working on an agreement to swap some land that the city owned for the Chestnut LLC. And I've heard this from numerous people. I'm positive it happened, but they don't want their name used, and I'm not going to use their name.
Well, that's what I was going to ask for because I was like, man. So we have So like I come from a little bit of a military background. And so we have conduct unbecoming of, and of course, so do you when it comes to city commissioners, mayors, things of that nature. And so one of those things is if you have done something that has violated, because you guys have the sunshine law, that is conduct unbecoming of a commissioner. But I also think though that, do you think, and this is just a question, do you think that throwing things out there like into public's eye without being able to come forth with names, documentation, or anything like that, do you think that that's hurting at all, like the public trust at all towards your campaign and you running?
I don't think so, but I'm throwing it out. Now, I mean, you don't have to dig too deep. Is all you got to do is look at Chestnut LLC, and Chestnut LLC sold that parcel to the city about 2 weeks ago for $1.011 million, and it was pushed by Josh Street. It was appraised for $800,000. They paid $800,000, and we paid over $1 million.
So
fairly obvious that something happened there.
Yeah. So I talked about this with Demetrius when he came on, and I said, it's a commercial property based on the time that it was. And this is just me. I'm a layman. I'm looking at things from the outside. But like, if you look at the price of homes that were purchased at one point in time, everything for some reason the market took off, and it was because of COVID and people moving here, and it was a supply and demand type thing. So you don't think that the $1.13 million, or do we pay 1.13 or 1.011?
1.011.
1.0.
I don't know why they had that number.
Yeah,
I think
it was an appraisal.
I think it was to make it difficult for us to talk about.
It could have been. But you don't think that that was a good deal still, even through what our economy has seen in the housing market and commercial real estate or anything like that?
That was an absolutely crooked deal to pay back friends of Josh Street. And I'll swear on 10 Bibles to that thing. You might be interested for comparison, just down from Los Antojitos, the city owns 1.5 acres. Mm-hmm. It's flat. There's 3 lots, 1.5 acres. They just auctioned it off. Yeah. The auction ended at $760,000, and the city said that's not enough. We're not going to sell it. So this Saunders diesel was just a little over 1 acre. Okay. It's got a building we got to tear down. It's going to cost $150,000 to tear it down. Mm-hmm. And so we paid $1 million. Just down the road, the city owns a piece of property that they couldn't get, that they turned down $760,000 for. We should have just taken the piece down the road and kept it, and given the 1.1 million, or given the 800,000. Just let Chestnut LLC stew in that thing for a while. They made a bad business investment, and they needed to live with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for clarification to the public, though, you believe that these guys violated the Sunshine Law. They should be held accountable for those things that took place, even though. So I do have a question. The people that, and I swear to God, we're going to get on other things, but I do have a question about this. The people that have reached out to you and that have told you that this backroom deal, why didn't they go to the FBI?
Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not accusing them of a sunshine violation, because Street could have talked to. He could have talked to Public Works, and then Public Works could have gone and talked to the mayor. So I do not know that they talked to each other, and I'm not accusing them, but I know that the deal was cooked up, and they all knew about it. But I don't know that they actually talked face to face.
See, I thought, okay, so that's my fault. I thought from the meeting that I saw, it was like they all met together, they came up with this deal together, and then it all went through. Because I was like, dude, if that's the case, if you're saying one of the clerks or whoever up at the city, they need to contact the FBI and push that through. I mean, that would be the right way to handle that, right? I'm not in government, but I would think that if something like that happened, there's a SOP, there's a standard operating procedure to be able to go through those steps to get these guys removed from office if they have broken any type of public trust, because that's almost going into bribery, fraud, manipulation of funds that have been taken from the city. And I'm like, dude, if that's the case, like, there's no reason to have an election. That guy shouldn't even be running. But you're saying that it was done through circles that are not necessarily the way that I thought it was.
Yeah, I'm saying I am not accusing them of face to face, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that was the plan, and they talked about it. But it'd be easy. Somebody talks to somebody else, and that somebody else talks back, and so it gets circulated.
Okay.
Which I think happened. But if you will go back and check the Lynn Haven corruption, I think you'll find out very quickly that reporting things to the FBI doesn't do much good.
Well, that's getting into a whole different thing. I think the thing with that is instead of going directly to the FBI, you went to your millionaire friend. That was the part that kind of went downhill in that one. And there's that's a whole different topic. But let's talk about other things off the Chestnut.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Beach Drive. So now you had mentioned that Alan Branch has kind of been a proponent of that, and that makes him part of the local deep state because of that, and they're pushing it. Is there something that they're financially gaining from on these things?
Well, Alan Branch is part of the deep state that wants that Beach Drive, and I've got a couple reasons for saying that. One of them, he wants it, and the other thing is he was a strong contributor to Greg Brudnicki, and Greg Brudnicki now is a strong contributor to his race. So that ties the deep state together. I don't think anybody knows why they want that path on Beach Drive, quite frankly. I've asked a lot of people. Nobody really seems to know, because they keep saying they want to tie the two marinas together. This does not tie the two marinas together at all. It only puts 1.2 miles right in the very middle of the whole deal. So it does not tie them together. People have said, well, maybe St. Joe wants it. I don't think St. Joe particularly wants it, but I don't know. So I really don't know. I've asked a lot of people. I've asked all the people on Beach Drive. Nobody knows really why they want this thing. Their excuse is that we want to tie the marinas together, and we want to tear down all those bad trees and put some nice trees up, and they want to do these storm savers, which are supposed to filter out rainwater and things like that.
The bay savers.
Bay savers, yes, sir, exactly.
The ones that they're supposed to be putting, I guess it's going to go under the walk, and it's supposed to help with environmental, or at least that's how it's said on the non-binding referendum.
Yes.
Which, so you're thinking that they want to put it in for other reasons that necessarily aren't out there to the public at this point?
I don't have any reason. I have no reason. I have no knowledge of why they want this thing, because these people, these are mostly retired people, or they've got this land through their family, and they plan on sitting there across the road and looking out on a wonderful sunset. You can see beach, you can see Shell Island, you can see the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it's just a wonderful, wonderful deal. And people are trying to take it away from these people that have worked hard to get it.
Well, there's no property that's being taken from anybody in this, right?
No, but the people that on Beach Drive, I'd say over half of them do own the land on the other side. They don't own it all, but they own a good piece of it.
Do they really?
According to Dan Sowell, we've run this through Dan Sowell, the city does not own enough property over there to do what they want.
Really?
I'll go even further. Ross McCloy is one of the lawyers that is on Beach Drive representing them, sorta. He also has a lawyer that he's hired in Tallahassee. Those two lawyers say the city cannot do it. Nevin Zimmerman says the city can do it. So we have lawyers on both sides, and both of them say they're right, which is pretty typical with lawyers, Each one of them thinks they're right. So it's more than a little cut and dried, yes, we can do it.
Okay. So the city can do it, though, right? If they wanted to? Or
the lawyers for Beach Drive folks say the city can't. The city says they can.
I think the misconception that's been kind of put out there to the public, and something that we've noticed through these interviews, is that the misconstrued information is that the FDOT has to sign over the road before we can even put the walk in. Is that correct?
Well, that's a great conversation. When this whole thing started out, Jonathan Hayes and the city boys were all saying that the city was going to get the road, and then once they got the road, they were going to narrow it, and they were going to do all these things. Well, we have We, meaning the people that don't want this beach drive, myself and a couple other people, we have gone to the FDOT.
Mm-hmm.
And this is gospel truth. The FDOT has said, we are not giving it to the city. Okay. For a month now, we know this for a fact. For at least a month, the city has known they're not going to get the road. And they have not told anybody they're not going to get the road. Now, why?
So is
I
there any-
have
is
no
there-
idea why, but they know they're not going to get the road because the FDOT, I called them. They said,
Yeah.
you're not, they said the city's not going to get the road. And I said, well, is that public knowledge? Can I say this publicly? And the guy said, one of the engineers said, yes, you can say that. You can say that publicly because we have told them they are not getting the road.
So when you say they, though, shouldn't you be part of that? Like, so who is the FDOT? When you say they, who's they? Who has
They is
FDOT
the city
told?
and they is the FDOT. There's
Yeah.
two theys in there.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
the city has said all along that they were going to get it.
Yeah.
Now they found out they're not, but they're not telling you. So what they're going to have to do now is petition the FDOT to change their plans. And I'm not sure the FDOT is going to give it to them. I also know they've already spent $1 million on plans.
So you don't know if the FDOT is going to give it to him or not?
No, FDOT is not going to give them to them. We know,
okay.
I know that for a fact. They're
Okay.
not going to
Okay.
give it to them. They've told me they're not going to give it to them.
Okay.
And I don't know why the city hadn't stepped up to the plate and said, well, we're not going to get it. But what they are saying is if we don't get it, we'll make some modifications because we still want to do something over there.
Yeah.
So it's still a dogfight.
Yeah, because I think the thing right now is like we don't have to have the road to put the path in. That's kind of like what's being said.
Right.
And I'm
That's
like,
what.
well, then what's the argument? If what's so like I'm not pro path. I'm not. I mean, I think it would be great to have a path there because I love the problem. Actually, I just got stomped in the dirt yesterday because I said, you have the sidewalk that is on Beach Drive right now, right?
That's true. It's on the north side.
And it's eroded. And all of these lips are on I've literally personally ran Beach Drive, and it is hard to run it without tripping and falling, and all of these different things. I'm like, well, a path would be nice, but my argument for the longest time was you're going to put a path in on the other side of the road when you can't maintain what you already have.
It's
right?
true. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is so I was corrected. Because that is a state road as of right now, it's FDOT's responsibility to manage that sidewalk.
I don't know about the sidewalk, but it's their responsibility to manage the road for sure.
Yeah, I guess it's because it's in the right of way of the road. It's actually FDOT's responsibility to maintain the sidewalk. So my whole thing is like, so FDOT has screwed up over the years to not take care of the sidewalk. It's almost like if you're going to maintain the road, you still have to maintain that portion, but they don't care about that portion because that's the city citizens. So putting a pathway on the other side, it sounds like a pretty decent idea. And listen, I'm young, I got kids. I would love to walk them down a pathway and look out and look at Shell Island. But here's the other thing about that. There is a caveat there. I don't pay taxes in Panama City, except for when I go down there and I have dinner with my family. So if the people of Panama City, Florida do not want that path, then it should not be built there, period. Right?
I don't think it should be built there whether they want it or not. It's
Oh,
not,
really?
It's not their
Okay.
it's not their property. A lot of the property over there belongs to the landowners. They tried this thing about 15 years ago and they gave up because they met such resistance. This thing should have never happened, and I'm against it. I don't care what the people say. And the referendum's a joke.
Hold on. So you just brought up something different. So the non-binding referendum, if that goes through in favor that the people want the path, you're still going to fight against it?
You got it.
Really?
The referendum's a joke.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Read it. If you don't believe,
we could bring it up real quick.
hey, you just go ahead and read it.
Yeah. I mean, we've been bringing it up, but what's wrong with it? Yeah, because I don't know.
Read it, and you'll know what's wrong with it.
As far as I know, the only thing I don't know if anything is wrong with it. So you're gonna have to run me through it because as far as right now, the non-binding referendum explains the environmental portion of it, where it's gonna make good changes for the environment down there at Beach Drive. Supposed to, I think even the amount of trees that they're bringing in to plant there is supposed to help with the erosion issues that they might see later on. So, and then of course the bay savers that's supposed to be able to capture any of the debris from stormwater runoff and all that. All of those sound pretty good. And then of course the other portion of it was that those funds couldn't be reallocated, which I think that's actually a wrong word to use, because you can't say you're going to reallocate a state appropriation. It has to be repurposed. Am I on this right? I don't know if I'm getting this right or not. So you're going to have to help me out. So you can't, and I do believe you can't repurpose it, the funds to go towards anything else.
That's debatable.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
This is like a Florida state statute that like came involved with that, because I know you guys have been fighting for that for a while. I don't remember what it was. Is this it, bro? Yeah. Could you? We're gonna read it together, because you're gonna have to point out to me what's wrong with it, because I'm stupid.
Because all you got to do is read it. I mean, it's so biased in favor of the path that it's absurd. You know, if you want to put something on the state, if you want to change the state constitution, you have to run it through a court.
Yeah.
And the court decides whether you're genuine or not, and whether you're writing something people can understand. This thing is not genuine. I think people can understand it, but it's not at all genuine, and it doesn't describe the path, what they're trying to do.
So the way that I understand it is, we've talked about the property rights a couple times, so you're going to have to correct me on all of this.
Well, I'm not an expert on property rights, but I do know the people on the north side do own quite a bit of the land over there.
Well, I have a pretty interesting argument for them. So I think it was 1912, 1914, something like that. There was an ice house that was at the end of Beach Drive. I think it was either on Frankfurt side or it was down by
the ice house was on the marina.
So this right here is a line, the tide line or whatever. This is where it originally was, and this is where it is now. Technically, where that path is going to be, it shouldn't be on anybody's property at all. This is what we've been sent.
Shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be on anybody's property at all. There's absolutely no property that was supposed to be taken care of. But if you're saying that there is, then I'll take your word for it.
Well, that's what the property appraiser has told us. But anyway,
I think that Dan Sal is dead wrong on this one. Just saying, because it wouldn't be, none of this would be in discussion. But however, I'm not sitting on your side, so maybe you can run me through how you would even get this far in the process by stealing people's property. How do you even get that far? How does government find its way to get that far in a process where you're going to steal property rights from somebody? Were you on the board when the path was decided on, right? No. Or was that before you?
It was before me.
Ah, okay.
But let's see, what was when this thing originally came out? It was in March of 2023. The city said they already had the road transferred. Mm-hmm. Big lie. They still don't have the road transferred. So they started out with a lie, and they continue that lie. Mm-hmm. I think the big problem here is we're spending $8 million. We should be giving this money back to the state and asking them to give us $8 million for some other roads and work on some other roads around there instead of working on Beach Drive.
I think that that's a good idea, but I do feel, and just as a taxpayer, as somebody who lives in the community, I'm for non-binding referendums. I understand that the wording is what you're having the issue with.
Well, the reason they're doing a non-binding referendum now is so we commissioners and mayor, we can't talk about it anymore, because that would be deemed election interference. So this whole deal is all about trying to shut us up so Josh Street will look good, because Josh Street's all about this thing, and the candidate Demetrius Reese that's running against him doesn't want this thing to happen. So we've got a clear dichotomy.
So
people can take their choice.
What dog in the fight does Josh have on this? Do you know? I'm just curious. I'm asking.
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
He's part of the deep state. The deep state wants this.
Okay.
Why? I do not know why the deep state wants this.
I don't.
If somebody knows, please tell me.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, because
I've got good friends that want this path to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I've also got good friends that don't want it to happen. So I mean, you obviously have to choose one way or the other, and I just happen to choose.
So let's for a hypothetical whatever. If it wasn't impeding on anybody's property rights, would you have a problem with it then?
Yes, because it does impede on their rights. What's going to happen if you have this path over there? First of all, there's no place to park, so people are going to have to drive to get here. No place to park. When they have a path out there along the beach, what you're going to get is you're going to get people camping out along there. They're going to stop along the path. They're going to bring their tents. They're going to stay over there. They're going to leave a bunch of trash.
Yes,
And-
they said that about the Lynn Haven rails and trails, and I use it all the time. And there really hasn't been a problem there. I don't know. I'm gonna get off the path.
Okay,
Let's go.
There are trails that we've talking about some trails in Panama City someday, and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, Rails and Trails is a multi-use path similar to the one that's going to be going in on Beach Drive, possibly, maybe not ever. but Rails Trails has been great over in Lynn Haven. I think it was one of the greatest things.
Oh yeah,
they
no,
did.
it's good.
It seems like it's the similar topic on that where everybody was like, oh, there's going to be homeless people, there's going to be crime rate, there's going to be everything. And we haven't really seen that at all. I mean, it's been kind of nice, but let's move it to the marina. Again, I know I only got you for like another so often, but the marina. So St. Joe got one side of the marina, is it for 60 years?
They got 6 acres. There's 20 acres now, roughly 20 acres. They are leasing 6 acres from us for 60 years.
For 60 years.
Plus, at the end of 60 years, they can ask for like 20 more. So
Yeah.
it's probably closer to 80.
Okay.
So
So
let's just say 60.
but
That's what the contract says.
were you for that deal?
What I asked the city manager to do, and I was rebuffed, I asked him to have an outside accountant look at this and see if it was a good deal, because I have talked to several outside accountants, and they think we kind of got screwed on this thing.
Really?
Now, I'm not in a big dogfight with St. Joe one way or the other, but
I hope not, because
No.
I think they're one of your donors.
that's true. They did donate some money
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me, but no, this whole deal on the marina. Well, let's see. Where are we on this? The big deal on the marina is we had $16 million for the marina, and we had $16 million for the Martin Theater.
Mhm.
And the rest of the commissioners voted to give all the money to the Martin Theater. So the Martin Theater has something like $34 million.
Mhm.
The Martin Theater has never, ever made a penny, and it's not going to make a penny. It's going to cost us in the future.
Yeah.
So back to the marina. We've got 20 acres. So there's they got 6, so 6 from 20. We got 14 acres down there now. What I want to do, let me back up what I was talking to you earlier. I suggested that we get an outside second opinion to look over the contract, even though it's already done. Look over the contract and see if we got it screwed or not.
Mhm.
The city manager has refused to do that. So they've refused to do anything like that. I want to look it over and see if everybody thinks we got a good deal. So in the 16 acres that we've got, or 14 acres that we have left, I have suggested that we get a large company to come in here and give us some options on what they could do to rebuild the marina, because there's some land where the Civic Center used to be that we could build maybe some retail shops or something of that nature. But there needs to be a plan to put the whole rest of the marina together.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're for bringing slips back, though, right?
Bringing what?
Slips back. You want to?
Oh,
bring slips
absolutely.
back?
We got to have slips back, 100%. We could have let FEMA rebuild that whole marina, replaced all the slips, and they would have paid 95% of the bill. And I had somebody in Pensacola that was going to pay the other 5%. We could have got it 100% rebuilt with no cost to the citizens.
So actually, I know you brought up the Martin Theater, and that was the next topic. So just bear with me. I think there's a couple people that are still in favor of building back the marina. The marina would be nice to have back. I think the issue there was the subsidy that was originally there, because it was original. So I think your opponent, Alan Branch, he brought up the fact that, and don't quote me on this. Feel free to go back and listen to his podcast when he talks about it.
I'm not going to bother. You can tell me what you think.
It was the fact that the marina having those slips there was the fact that other people who didn't even live in the city limits were able to hold a slip there. And the city was basically in competition with private marinas. So you could go to Panama City Marina and you could get a really, really good deal on a slip because again, to have a private slip is way more of the cost. And then not even be a citizen of Panama City. So a citizen that pays taxes, obviously the taxes go towards that marina. They would be put on a waiting list, but somebody from Alabama could have a slip here if they wanted it. That was one of the big controversies with the marina. Now maybe you can kind of run me through that on what plans. If this is what I think. I think if you bring back the slips, being somebody that doesn't live in Panama City, Florida, it needs to be set up in a way to where you can't own a slip there unless you live in the city limits of Panama City. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay.
We had 200 slips down there, and the slips should be priced at market value. And if somebody, it doesn't matter where they live, if they can pay the market value. There was a waiting list to get on those slips. So this business that there weren't enough slips that's dead wrong.
Well, there was a waiting list, and that was the thing.
There was a big
the
waiting
argument
list.
is that the waiting list, people who lived here in the city were on that waiting list, but there were people from Alabama that had a slip.
That's because they got on there first. I had a boat down there, and this was when I first came here. There was a guy from Tampa, and he brought his boat up here because it was cheaper to keep his boat up here than it was in Tampa. Okay. And so, but the slip should be at market value. We've got somebody in St. Andrews paying $5 a foot for keeping their boat over there. The market value is almost $20 a foot.
Yeah.
So our problem down at the marinas was we didn't establish market value, and we didn't go with market value. But I have good friends that were on a waiting list, and I have no people that got them on there. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if you live in Atlanta and you put your name on the list, when your name pops up, you get it if you got the money. But it's got to be market driven. And the problem, people have said we didn't make any money down there. If we didn't make any money, it's because people running the marina were either stealing it or we were not pricing it. We make almost
it wasn't being properly managed, is what you're saying. Yeah.
I got the easy answer for that. If we can't manage it, we just hire somebody to manage it for us. That's simple. We made over $1 million a year, $1 million gross sales in just fuel, which was about $300,000 or $400,000 in profit. But diesel fuel sells for over $1 million a year down there. So this business that we don't make money on the marina is a bunch of bunk. But the big problem is with the slips were not at market value. And if we put everybody at market value, if we can't make money on that marina, we need to give it away. That's ridiculous. You definitely 100%. 200 slips, $20 a foot. And most boats are in the neighborhood of 30 feet. I don't know the math, but it's probably over $1 million. It's probably a couple $1 million a year.
Yeah. I don't know. You got me on the part where it's like I think that if taxpayers' dollars are going towards it, I think that they should be kind of like ahead of the line on that stuff. That's just my own personal opinion.
Okay,
we don't have to agree on that one.
No, that's all right. We're not going to agree on everything. I think it's got to be market driven. Period.
The way that you just explained it sounds good. It does. If you're gonna be in the marina business of having a marina, then yeah, it should be priced at market value. So I think that that's the part that people aren't doing when they're thinking about it. They're thinking that it's going to go back to the old way, and the old way was broken.
Right.
But that way, if you're saying that it's going to be priced at market value, that's a win-win for the city.
And it doesn't punish the private marinas because the private marinas,
No,
they'll all be at market value too, or they can drop below market if they needed to. But anyway,
that's their problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
everybody's kind of at market, I'm sure people at $20 a foot are not going to be happy because the 30 footer is going to cost $600 a month.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of money to keep.
That's
a boat.
what I was saying, man.
But there's a lot of people with boats with enough money that they would be willing to stand in line to do it.
So we're off the marina. We got off Beach Drive, off Chestnut. We could talk about the CDD next.
Sure.
or we could talk about the Martin Theater and the Marina Civic Center, which you kind of did. So I'm under the impression right now. We'll move to the Martin Theater real quick. $30 million of the 32.
I think it's actually
34.
It's 33 and a half, I think. Let's just say 33 million.
So apparently that's not paid out of the taxpayer at all.
It's FEMA.
It's FEMA.
So
was that
some
the
taxpayers
same?
pay it, but
FEMA still is taxpayers' dollars. So
That's-
I mean, it doesn't matter how you break it down, whether or not it comes from whoever, and it's still taxpayers' dollars.
That's
I
correct.
understand that. But getting on that $32 million or 33 or
It's
30,
32, 33,
whatever.
somewhere's in there.
that would have gone to the Martin Theater. Could we have built back a marina for the same price?
The way it was, the Martin had 16 million and the Marina had 16 million. They took the 16 million from the Marina and moved it to the Martin. And it was FEMA money. You're allowed to move FEMA money around a little bit, but you have to ask permission. I think it could have been moved down to the Marina, and would 32 million have rebuilt it? It would have. I think it would have built 2/3 of it. It would have certainly built. There's two basins over there. There's the basin I call the east side, which is the left side when you're going down there, and then there's the right side basin, which is behind the hotel over there. It could have definitely built one of the basins and maybe both of them. But we could have. The other option, we could have just told FEMA, we don't want your 16 million. You go ahead and rebuild the marina for us. And FEMA was going to rebuild it and not send us a bill. They were going to pay 97%. They didn't know what it was even going to cost.
Yeah,
it was such a sweet deal. It's amazing that we have such a brain trust down there that they couldn't see it.
Yeah. So the argument on the marina on that was like they had to rebuild it to the 1960s standards. And
I think that's true.
And so it didn't sound like it was. So the way that it was explained to me by one of the commissioners was that we were worried about a clawback. So
what a joke!
Maybe you can enlighten me on that one. So
I would love to. That's the biggest bunch of baloney I ever heard.
Okay.
Clawback means FEMA could not like what you did and take the money back.
Yeah.
So we took it all to the Martin Theater. You don't think they could claw it back over there? Heck yeah, they could. FEMA can claw it back from anywhere. So to say it's a clawback issue, that's totally ridiculous, because FEMA, yes, they can claw back, but they can claw back from anywhere.
They can claw back from anything that they put money into.
That's the nature of FEMA, and that's why you have to, dot your I's and cross your T's. But yeah, they brought that up at a commission meeting that we were worried about clawback, and what a bunch of bunk.
Yeah.
Because they can claw it back from. I think you're more likely to claw it back from the Civic or Martin Theater. We gave that Martin Theater. It's 32, 33 million. We gave that with one bid. FEMA, I don't think FEMA likes one bid. They had the Jonathan Hayes or somebody, they had to call FEMA and get special permission to go ahead and do this rebuild with only one bid. We only got one bid on that thing.
Only one.
Only one bid. And I understand there's a hotel over here on Panama City Beach, something like, 20 stories, and it was built for $18 million.
Yeah.
So this is a 4-story, 5-story thing down there for $33 million.
I want to ask you about the bid process. Went over a little bit of this with Ed, and I agree with him on it. I think that there should be a 3-bid minimum. How do you feel about that? On anything and everything that the city does? Because right now, I mean, he showed me this right here. We looked over. I'm sure a lot of this looks familiar to you. Signs that are being built throughout the city where there's only like 2 bids, 1 bid, and it's like you're spending $100,000 on a sign. Don't quote me; it's a little bit less, but and it's like, dude, there's only one person that came in and made a bid on that. Are you kidding me? Like those types of things. I think that the bidding process is flawed a little bit up there. There's a little bit of an argument to go on there right now, which was kind of cleared up yesterday, but. Bonfire was the app that's used, but it's something you had to pay for to be able to put a bid on. So
that's interesting. It came up at a meeting. Somebody wanted to know if you had to pay or not pay, and nobody really knew. They've done a little research and have found out that you don't have to pay. But as a friend of mine has told me, no local builders bid on the Martin Theater. Now, we got people that live in Panama.
So who got it?
Atlanta, a group out of Atlanta. So we've got people here in town, builders that have built condominiums.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these guys that built condominiums don't even, apparently they don't even know to take a bid to the Martin Theater. We have qualified
Yeah.
people here in town. So this business of accepting one bid is dead wrong. I mean, it's just plain 100%
Is that
wrong.
something that you can implement though as part of policy to be able to push forward on when it comes to the 3 bid process?
If Ed and Demetrius gets elected, we'll make sure it happens.
Well, have you tried to do that so far while you've been in?
Yeah, we've talked about it.
And they won't.
Well,
they won't entertain
Martin
the
Theater
idea?
with one bid. They said, well, that's all we could do.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, they were called on the carpet about that.
Yeah, I imagine so. All right. I've had you for almost close to the time that I got you for. So
Okay.
instead of going, we can talk about the CDD.
Sure, the SweetBay deal.
Yeah, the SweetBay CDD. This has been explained to me a couple different times right now. So it was originally said that the money that was going to be raised in the CDD was also going to be able to be implemented into that entire ward, and based on the ad valorem that's brought in off of it. Then I know Ed came on and he said that 46% of the ad valorem that comes in off of the CDD goes back to the developer.
That's right. It goes to developer, and he's not going to develop anything but SweetBay. So this business that it could be spread all around, I don't think is true.
Really?
Why would the developer take it out of SweetBay? He's not crazy. Actually, he's smart as a fox. He screwed us out of 45% of our ad valorem tax for the next 45 years.
Yeah, because it's been kind of presented as a good thing, as it's going to be utilized within the entire ward that's there, not just within that. And it's
Well,
supposed
Commissioner Granger's wrong because he's the one that thinks it's going to spread out of his own ward, and he's wrong. Well, I don't know if the SweetBay guy gets the money, which is the Jeffries Group out of New York. If the Jeffries Group, who made $6.4 billion last year, if that Jeffries Group gets the money, it's for new construction in SweetBay is what it's for. It's not to get out and spread around town.
Really?
If it was to spread it around town, heck, that'd be great. Spread it around town. But just if you're going to do that, give it to us and let us spread it around town.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. That's how Ed said it. He was like, why are we going to put it in the developers' hands? Because they're not going to know what to do with who's going to know what to do with the money better, the city or the developer? That's how he explained it.
That's 100% right.
Yeah.
How could it be anything else?
Yeah, I understand that. So, all right, before I let you go, so when I was in the United States military, one of the things that was said to me, there was an altercation going on one day, and I had 2 NCOs that were just at each other's throats. First sergeant comes in the room and he says, you guys have been fighting for over an hour. Both of you guys claim that you hate each other. And he said, I want you to give me 5 good things, and I want you to give me 5 bad things of your opponent. And he said, because if you can't give me that, you don't understand who that person is. This has stuck with me over a couple of years. And when I was running for office, this is one of the things that I had to do about the county. I was like, if I can't explain 5 good things that the county does and 5 bad things, I don't understand the county. So running into things that are going on, it looks like the downtown projects that are going on down Harrison Avenue seem like some good things that are going on, and things like that. But obviously, I don't know. But what I was going to ask you is that what are 5 negative things that the city is doing right now that needs to be changed, and what are 5 positive things that they are actually doing right?
Well, we got lots of negatives. Streetscapes downtown, narrow in the road, terrible. Marina, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Martin Theater, ridiculous. We spent over $100,000 just recently on signs downtown. They want to make decorative signs. Now, can you imagine getting lost in downtown Panama City?
Yeah.
I mean, you just keep walking one way or the other and you'll get yourself straightened out. Over $100,000 we wasted on decorative signs down there. I think the open container law, back and forth drinking in the streets down there, I think that's a bad deal. So and Beach Drive, I think that covers 5 things. I'm sure I could find more. CDD and SweetBay. I think we do a lot of things. Wrong that we could do better.
Yeah. No positives?
Positive. What do we do positive? I think we have a reasonably good website, so you can follow things on our website. We have some ability for emergencies. If you want to sign up to get emergency alerts, you can do that. We have, what do we have? Let's see.
What about the people? You've got to have a secretary that remembers your birthday and brings you in a cake or something.
Well, the people in Panama City are fantastic, and actually,
well, that's number 3.
I'm glad you told me that. I think the city workers are exceptional.
Yeah,
I think they all mean very well. They work hard. I think we got a little too many generals and not enough Indians. So I think that sort of thing could be probably straightened out. I suggested, this is interesting, I suggested that we do an efficiency study downtown. That has fallen on deaf ears, but I think something like that might be, I don't know what
I heard about the Doge thing.
I think the Doge, that was before I knew about Doge, but I think something like that. And I don't know what it would find. I think it would be useful to look at it.
Is the Doge that because you just proposed that the other night, right? Or was it you or somebody else did? Or
a friend of mine proposed that.
Yeah, as long as it's done from an outside entity, I think it's good. But we already have checks and balances at the city, don't we?
That's true. I think the Doge that we're talking about is probably more. And I've suggested that why don't we have a suggestion box, downtown, just a suggestion box. You can go drop things in. We recently had some what they call socials, which when they ask people what you want, and everybody wants clean air and lots of recreation and those kind of things. But at the same time, the socials did show people where we're spending our money. I don't agree all the places that we are spending our money, but it was very wide open, and it did show things that was very useful. So I think City Hall is wonderful. I think we got the greatest City Hall in the world.
Yeah.
Except we don't have a place to have a meeting, and we spent $20 million for something that should have cost $8 million.
Oh yeah.
Well, we could have built a City Hall from scratch for something like $8 to $10 million, and we spent over 20 on what we're in. That's one of the reasons I ran also. I didn't like that wild expenditure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was spent by friends of the deep state. It was spent by the deep state. Okay. We had a deep state commissioner that recommended we use those.
Yeah. And
her name is very clear if you go back and look through the records. When she made a motion to let GAC have the building.
Okay. Well, tell you what, I've taken up almost an hour.
All right. Well,
I'll let you do any type of closing statements that you want to do. I appreciate you coming on. Obviously, you're always welcome to come back on and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You answered pretty much all of the controversial subjects, which is what I really wanted to get down to, because these things are talked about a lot. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to have the mayor come in and talk about this. So I appreciate you coming on and kind of give us a little bit of clarification on all that.
Well, I'm delighted because a lot of people don't know the inside baseball of what's going on down there. And that's one thing that I've been able to figure out. I haven't been able to change it, but at least I know it's down there. And so I can point it out to people. And, this election is going to be a good chance. We have a deep state versus me. And so we're going to see if the deep state still has, how much deep state power is out there. Because my opponent is one of the deep state people, and he's all about spending money downtown to help himself. And I'm all about spending money that's going to help everybody. And I want to spend money all over town. What little money we have, I want to spread over the whole town.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Well,
it's hard to reach.
Yeah, it is hard to reach.